Howdy folks, it's Age of the Hunting Gear Guy, and this is a Rossi Overland. It's a double barrel side-by-side shotgun in 12 gauge. It's got external hammers. Whoa, whoa, so old. But some people like that. Some people like the old style. You can see we're empty here. This is just your standard break open side-by-side shotgun with external hammers that Rossi in Brazil made. And apparently these are really popular with cowboy action shooters because of the authenticity or the old timiness of it. So we're empty. Why don't we get started and take a closer look at this shotgun? So just starting at the rear, we have a butt pad that says Kick Easy or Kick Ease, and I can say that it's not very easy. It's just a standard rubber butt pad. If you wanted something a little bit softer, you might want to get like a softer butt pad on here. We've got sling swivels here. These look to be 1-inch sling swivels. We've got one right there, and we've got one up on the barrel here, which would be handy if you're going to go out hunting with this kind of thing. And you could use this thing hunting. This is a very completely adequate shotgun for hunting. It's got a couple of interesting features I'll show you in just a minute here. You can see that we have 2 triggers, 2 hammers, 2 barrels. Now, these all work together to do some interesting things that kind of make sense. So if you're going to go hunting with this thing, you load it up with your shot. The right-hand barrel, that's like your go-to barrel, right? That's the one that you're going to use most of the time. And that's also your front trigger. Now, the right-hand barrel is IC, improved cylinder, so it's a little bit more open for close shots. Now, if you miss that one, well, you gotta follow it up with the second barrel. Your game has probably made a little bit more distance since you made that shot. So we're going to go to the back trigger, the backup trigger, and we're also going to go to the left barrel, which is a modified choke. So now we're going to get a tighter choke. That's going to get more pellets on target for a longer shot. So it's kind of interesting how they've done that, right? Front trigger for a little bit wider, back trigger for when it's a little bit further away. So very effective and very easy to remember once you know what is going on and kind of how they designed it for the end user. Now, in some shotguns, breaking it open means that you can't do other stuff. In this one, the front half is completely separate from the back half. I can cock the hammers. With this thing broken up, open or closed, doesn't matter. It both works. No safety on this guy. Oh, I love that. I hate safeties in especially in a lot of shotguns like this because we've got hammers on it. Why do we need safeties? We don't need safeties. Now, one thing I want to show you is that these pins here go right into the firing mechanism there. So having it open like this, if you drop this shotgun on, I don't know, some rocks or something like that, there's a very slight chance you might hit one of those pins and it might go off. Very slight chance. This is why we don't have exposed hammers. The other thing is, let's say we've fired and we reload it. If the hammer is a little bit far forward, it is actually free to hit that. So this is a real risk. If we were to drop it while it was loaded in this condition, that's going to fire. So what you need to do is, at the least, do you hear that click? You need to pull it back so that you get that click and it won't go forward. Now it's drop safe. Now it won't hit that firing pin. You'll need to do that for both sides. Just make sure that it's just a little bit back to you until you hear that click, and now it's safe. That's the safety on this thing. Now, if we want to fire, if we don't want it to be safe, we just pull that guy back, and now we're ready to fire. Now, because we're using external hammers and we're manually cocking it with our thumb, the gun doesn't have to cock itself when it opens. So when you crack it open, it just kind of falls open. It's very quick and easy, which apparently for cowboy action is a good thing because it makes it faster. You can see we don't have an ejector on here, so the shells don't come flying out of there when we open it. Instead, they barely get pushed out a little bit, and you have to flick them out of there by hand. But it works. It's reliable. Getting a little bit further forward here, we've got a very wide forend, and this is standard on a side-by-side because you've got 2 barrels that you got to hold into your hand, and that's as trim as it gets. But it does keep it nice and flat, and it does let you get your head really far down on the gun. So with a over-under, your head is quite a bit over that bottom barrel, whereas with a side-by-side, you're pretty much right on top of those barrels. As you're aiming down, which is nice. It's nice for natural pointing, for natural aiming on game. And then right at the front, we just have a standard bead right in the middle between those two barrels. Now to disassemble the Rossi Overland, we've got a plunger right here. We just press that guy in. The fore end comes off. It kind of hinges off the that there. And then we open it up and then pull the barrels off. So it's riding on that groove there on the pin at the bottom. There's our lug that it's using to hold the barrels down in place against the breech. This makes, like, if you need to pack your gun into a smaller case, this is really nice. It lets you get it into a smaller case very quickly. It's also like really nice for cleaning because now you don't have to like deal with the other shotgun in the way. You just got the barrel set to deal with. So that's a little bit nice. And there's our breech face. Now just to show you here the firing pins, you can see that they push right in. There's very little spring pressure holding these things back. And as that hammer goes forward, it just presses that right in on that on the shell. The breech face itself is pretty roughly machined. You can see a lot of cross grooves from the mill that came in and milled this off, but it doesn't really matter. It still fires just the same. Now reassembly on these things is pretty easy. We're going to take that guy there, put it in there. We're going to push this to the side as we're pulling it down, and then we'll let it go. And that's to move that block out of the way so that it's easy to put in. Finally, we take our fore end. We're just going to scooch a guy on there and then clamp it shut until we hear that click. So who's going to want to use this thing? Well, if you're in cowboy action and you want something that looks classic but is kind of new and a little bit more modern, this would be the ticket. For hunting, it can do that as well. It does to do 3-inch or 2 3/4, so you could hunt with this thing if you wanted to. For upland bird and grouse and that kind of thing, this would be an okay shotgun to take. At 7 pounds, it's a little bit heavy for what it's doing, but you've got 2 barrels, you've got 2 shots that you can take pretty quick if you need to, so that's a plus. Ultimately, I think most of the people who own these shotguns just really want a cool, old-style, side-by-side 12-gauge, and that it does very well, and it's fun to shoot as well, except both barrels. Oh, that's a lot of recoil. Firing both barrels at once. Make sure that you've got your fingers back on this thing and they don't like ram in there. Make sure you've got it firmly into your shoulder because it's a lot of recoil. That's a lot of lead you're throwing down range, and it's a lot of recoil, but a lot of fun. Thanks for watching.
Ready? I'm gonna try pulling both barrels at the same time. Think I can do that? Ow!
Oh, did you hear that?
Oh, it hurts.
Oh, now you know what Red Dead Redemption feels like. Oh.
That was not smart.
Yeah. Why'd you do that?
Oh, I thought it'd be cool, and it was.
But incredibly stupid.
Oh. Oh my God.
Oh. You're just like, nope, I'm out. This is the first time you've done anything like that.